I'm teaching them important life-saving techniques, honey.
But honey, wouldn't it just be a lot more fun to play Dice Hospital?
Hey guys, we got Dice Hospital on the table now. Let me show it to you guys and show it how it works. In Dice Hospital, you're going to make sure that every player has their own hospital board with their 3 white nurse meeples here in the nurse's station, and you're going to assign each player a color and make sure to put one of those syringes over here on the scoreboard. And as you can see, there are 6 different steps in each turn. So let me go over each of these steps with you guys so you can get an idea for how this game works. The first step is intake. And what you're going to do is you're going to assign someone to be the first player, and that player is going to draw dice from this bag here. And I've already set out enough dice for each of our ambulances. We've got set up here for a 3-player game, and so in a game of Dice Hospital, you're going to have the ambulances be the number of players plus 1. So in a 3-player game, you're going to have 4. And you're going to draw enough dice for each ambulance, and you're going to roll all the dice. And any 1s and 6s, you're going to re-roll. So we're going to re-roll these 2 right here. And we got 6s again, re-roll them again, there we go. And then you're going to sort these dice out. So I'm going to hurry up and do that real quick. Okay, so I got the dice put in order from lowest to greatest. And once you've done that, the player to the right of the first player, so the player who's going to go last in the turn, is going to decide in which ambulance to put these dice. Now you have to put them in lowest to greatest, so we would put the first 2 2s in the first ambulance, and we're going to go ahead and put the 3 4s in ambulance 3 and the 3 5s in ambulance 4. Now that player to the right of the first player would have a choice to make as to which one of these 3s would go in the first ambulance with the 2s, and so they might just decide to put a yellow one there, and then they're going to put the rest of the 3s in ambulance 2. Now, starting with the first player who has the token, they can decide which ambulance they're going to take. They cannot take the first ambulance. They can take the second, third, or fourth ambulance, and the ambulance you take determines your turn order when picking out your improvements for your hospital. So we'll just say that player 1 decides to take the second ambulance, then it would go to the next player, and they might take the third, and the last player might take the first. And any leftover ambulances, those dice are just going to go back into the bag there. Now, once you have your dice with your ambulance, you're going to take those dice and you're going to put them down in the ward into your hospital here. And that's where all your dice go. And as you can see, you have 4 different wards, each holding 3 dice. So at most, you can only ever hold 12 dice in your hospital. That's important to remember. Now, after you've done that and you've taken your dice, the next thing you're going to do is go to improvement. And for improvement, we would flip out a number of these doctor cards and a number of these room tiles. And essentially what these cards and tiles do, they either improve your hospital or they're going to give you a number of doctors who let you do special abilities. You can check out what each of those icons mean. And while we're on that topic with the icons, I do want to let you guys know that the iconography in this game is a little deep. And so that would be something that you want to be mindful of when playing this game with non-gamers, because there's lots of icons and that can be a little difficult for non-gamers to follow with. And so just be mindful of that. So starting with whoever picked the lowest ambulance, first thing, they would get to take the first player token for the next round. And anybody who took the first ambulance would also get to take a blood bag. And what blood bags do, they essentially help you in treating dice by changing the color of the dice. Also, you can treat a die for free, but you can also hold on to those blood bags for points at the end of the game. So anyway, whoever was the person to take the lowest ambulance, they would get to pick what they would want first. And so they might take this doctor here. And whenever you take a doctor, you get to gain a meeple and put that on the card. And the next player might decide they want to take a room. And whenever you take a room, you just attach it to your hospital, and that gives you extra space to treat. And so that brings us to the next step, activation. So how the activation step works, and this is another thing I would have you guys watch out for when playing this game with non-gamers, is to do this one at a time for at least a couple of 3 or 4 turns, just to make sure your non-gamer friends are really understanding how this step works, because it can be complicated. But you're going to move any nurses and doctors that you might have and put them in rooms scattered throughout your hospital to treat the different patients that you have in your hospital. And so some of these rooms, real quick, yellow rooms can treat yellow dice, green, red, and red. These rooms over here that are gray, they treat certain numbers, as you can see. And so when I say treat, essentially what I mean is you're going to move a nurse or a doctor to a room, and you're going to take a particular die that's being treated, in this case yellow, and you're going to raise that by 1. And then you'll move it down here on one of these check mark boxes, like that, stating that you have treated that die. Now you can treat dice more than once on a turn, but you cannot use the same nurse or doctor more than once per turn, or you also can't use the same room more than once. And so there's a little bit of a puzzle here in making sure to use your people the right way, as well as the rooms in the right way. And with that, knowing whether you should pick another person or another room for your hospital. And so you'll want to make sure to watch your non-gamer friends that they are doing that correctly during the activation stage. The next thing is neglect. And so what that means is that any dice that did not get treated in a turn, they're going to go down. And so going down is not good in this game, because if at any time you neglect a 1, well, a 1 would become a 0, and a 0 basically means that that person has died. And so they would go to the morgue here, and when you're in the morgue, that's not good. You get body bags there, and body bags count for negative points at the end of the game. After neglect, then we would move on to discharge. And what discharge means is whenever you've treated a 6 to become a 7, well, they will move over here to the discharge lounge, and anytime you move someone to the discharge lounge, you're going to get points. Now, as you can see, you want to try to discharge as many on the same turn as possible to get more points. And so that's kind of the puzzle of the game, is trying to time your discharging patients at the right time to maximize your points there. But once you've done discharge, then you'll go into the last step of a turn, and that is shift change. And what that means is all the nurses and doctors are going to move back to where they go. You will then move up any dice that have not been treated, or that have been treated, excuse me, and move them back up to the top of the ward and start the round over and turn that around, and then you would start the next round, starting with the first player. Now, you can also play with this deck of cards here that cause events to happen each round, but you might want to save that for once you have experience with the game. And essentially that's the game. There are some administrator cards you can play with that do make it a little bit more complicated. Again, there's iconography on each of the cards, and so you just have to be mindful of that. Little side note, these are real people in the history of medicine, so that's pretty cool. And so anyway, that is how you play Dice Hospital.
All right, here we have Dice Hospital on the table. This is a 2-player game with Sam and I. Full disclosure up front, Sam, you are an RN, and so
obviously I have a huge advantage in this game.
You know how to treat. But no, seriously, this is, if there was a theme that was right up your alley, this would be it, right?
Yeah, I definitely love the theme of this game. And also, something else, we have played this game multiple times. This is not my first time playing it. So take that into consideration with my final score.
Yeah. And having played this game several times, talk about the learning curve with this game. I mentioned in the rules video that there are some icons, some iconography in this game that can be a little deep. Talk about that.
I mean, for the most part, I found this game very easy to learn. We have played it with our son when he was 7, 8 years old, and he also understood it fairly easily. But yeah, I would say the only difficult part is the imaging with the doctors and the new rooms and things like that. But as long as the gamer is willing to explain those. Just for some reason for me, I would get them confused. Am I supposed to get a dice up to, are they supposed to be the same number or the same color? Or, I mean, it probably makes more sense for most people, but I always have a hard time with that aspect of it.
Yeah, and you got that understood in this game pretty quickly, though, if I recall. You know, we've played this, like you said, several times, but I don't feel like it took too many playthroughs for you to really get that concept.
No, I think this time I just had to clarify, okay, this is what this means, correct? And you would,
Yeah, needed a refresher on it, I suppose. One other thing in this game, you experienced this in this game that we're looking at here on the table, that it can be difficult to keep up with all your doctors and the rooms that you have and knowing when to use them and how to use them.
Yes.
Talk about that real quick.
I mean, I love that aspect of this game. I love that you kind of get to pick, okay, you have to think through it. I have this many patients that are these colors at this number. They can go in these rooms. These dice can't go in these rooms. I have these doctors. I really love it. But the first half of the game, I had my doctors on their cards, and I would forget that I had certain doctors. So midway through, you might see that I moved all my doctors to the middle, which I think that's just a preference, so that I could remember that I had those doctors, if that makes sense. But that is a hard part, kind of figuring it all out, but it's also my favorite part of the game because I love the puzzle aspect of it.
Yeah, the word that comes to mind for this game is puzzle. This is definitely a puzzly game. It doesn't look like it on the surface at first, but as you get into it, you're like, oh man, this happens several times throughout the game. It's better for me not to treat these patients this round and spend all my nurses and doctors on treating this set of patients because I know I can get them discharged now and get points for them now. And you know, there's just that balance between, you know, do I treat everybody as much as I can, you know, treat all the patients I can, or do I let some of them neglect so that I can treat these even further than what they already are, which kind of goes against the theme, but who cares about that? You know, this is getting points and trying to figure out that puzzle, and that is an interesting aspect to it.
I will say, playing with younger players like our son, the one thing about this game, it's easy to cheat either intentionally or unintentionally because everyone's so focused on their own boards. That with a younger player, especially our son who has a tendency to cheat at times, you kind of have to take turns and pay attention. As the gamer at the table, this is just my own experience, you can get so focused into your own strategy and your own game plan that if you're not mindful of what your non-gamer friends are doing at the table, they may inadvertently cheat and mess everything up. I know that's happened a time or two in the past with our son, as you mentioned, but we've also played this with your sister before, and I think that's kind of happened in a time or two with her. All right, so the things I like about this game real quick, I like, as I mentioned, that puzzly aspect. There is some crunchiness to this game that you don't really see on the surface. It's only as you get into it and you see the choices that you have and you're playing through the round and you have to decide make some difficult decisions. Do I let this patient deteriorate and neglect in order to treat this patient? There's that aspect to it. I really like that. I know you like the theme. Anything else you like about this game? I like the choosing. Do I need to add a new room? Do I need to add a new doctor? Like that part of it too just adds another level to it. Because at the beginning you have your basic nurses, your basic rooms, 3 dice, but it gets really complicated really fast the more dice you add. So, and do I choose the more critically ill dice and get to be first and make better decisions?
Yes.
Or do I pick 4s and 5s and discharge more? And there's just a lot of there's a lot of strategy, or there can be a lot of strategy to this game.
All right, well, so let's get into the ratings that we have for this game. I really like this game, as you guys could probably tell. I give this game a solid 8. I really enjoy it. There is an expansion coming out for it later this year. I'm really looking forward to that. I think it's going to take it up an even another notch. What would you say, Sam?
I love this game. I give it a 9.
Wow.
The theme is great. I love the puzzle aspect of it. It's quick. It's easy to learn. Super excited about the expansion because it's the maternity ward, right?
Yes, and that's
And
what
I
you
am
do.
a maternity nurse, so I am super excited about it.
There you go. All right, so I don't know that I even need to ask this, but Sam, is this a game you would recommend for non-gamers?
Yes, absolutely.
There you go. Very good. All right, guys, so if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give us a like and subscribe. And if you like this game, go ahead and check out the link in the description. And you can buy this game on Amazon. All right, until next time, this has been Love to Hate.